Okay, before this video starts, I want to give a couple disclaimers. Number one, this is a list of the greatest players of all time, not the best. To put it in a way that makes a little more sense, let's say there's a player who averages, 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists for his career. Now, let's also say dude played for 10 years and never made it past the second round of the playoffs. Kinda sounds a little familiar. Even though statistically, I would probably say that's a top 20 player all time, on this list, he's not getting past someone who won 3 chips and averaged 20 points a game. Again, this is the greatest players of all time, not the best. Number 2, this will partially be based off of the NBA 75 list from 2021. I have quite a few gripes with this list, like some pretty egregious snubs or how it's not even ranked in order. Like, what the is the point of making a list of the best NBA players of all time and then not ranking them? Would you make a list of the best peanut butter brands of all time and not rank them? No, because then you're just naming peanut butter brands. Still, even though there are respectfully some bums on this list, I'll be keeping them on it because they've clearly earned their spot in NBA history, even if I personally don't fully believe they earned it. They would all whoop me in the game to 21. And finally, 3. Frank Ntilikina is not on this list. Sorry to all my Frank Ntilikina fans, it was him or Steph. Who the is this?
Who the is he? And why the he ain't in my drawers yet?
My bad. Dave DeBusschere. The Butcher coming person. Dave DeBusschere was an 8-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion with a single All-NBA selection and 6 All-Defense selections. He played for the Pistons and the Knicks and pretty much had a single goal the entire time. Up on defense. He literally locked up Wilt in Game 5 of the 1970 NBA Finals. And apparently he played in the MLB. What the Move over, Bo Jackson. Bo knows this, Bo knows that, but Bo can't ball, so all that. Dave was also a coach while playing in the NBA. This dude has the most random resume of all time for a guy who averaged 16 and 10 a game. It might sound like I'm being disrespectful, but make no mistake, I have immense respect for Dave. He was yet again another motor dude akin to Ben Wallace and Draymond, but he was only 6'6", making him extremely undersized for a power forward. Still, it would be kind of ludicrous to me to put him any higher, so I'm not going to.
This is a certified hood classic.
Dave being as a person is actually a lot more interesting than Dave being as a basketball player. As a kid, his eye was stabbed by a rusty nail, and later on in life, he would become acquainted with the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden, in college.
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner. Hey.
This would naturally progress into a political career once his basketball days were over, where he would then serve as mayor of Detroit for 5 years. That's not to say Bing was a scrub, he just didn't really accomplish anything of note while in the league. Being one of the earlier scoring guards in the NBA, his style of play was very unique and definitely led to individual success. He was a 7-time All-Star, an NBA scoring champ, Rookie of the Year. He was selected to 3 All-NBA teams, 2 of which being first, but despite that, he only made it out the first round once. There are quite a few players he's realistically better than on the NBA 75 list, but greater than? No. Purely off of stats, he might be in the mid to high 70s, but unfortunately, Bing didn't do much outside of that. The Pistons were not a good team at the time. It's not really Bing's fault he didn't win much, but at the end of the day, he didn't do what you have to do in order to be great. Win. Y'all ever seen Rain Man? I haven't. That movie looks boring as f. I have the attention span of a goldfish, so my favorite movies are Cars 1, 2, and 3, the Lego Movies Part 1 and 2, and every Sharknado film, including its peculiar spin-off series, Lava Angela. Anyways, Sean Kemp, otherwise known as the Rain Man, was a demon, a double-double machine with career averages of 14 points and 8 rebounds. For about 8 years, Kemp was a premier power forward in the NBA, along with famous Lego Movie 2 character Gary Payton.
Get his ass in here. Hey.
He was able to turn the Seattle Supersonics into a force to be reckoned with in the 90s. A great transition player, good defender, and supreme dunker, Sean Kemp was just solid in nearly every facet. In the 96 finals, he dueled with MJ and honestly put up a pretty good effort. If the Sonics didn't completely choke in the 94 playoffs when they were a 63-win team and lost in the first round, there's a decent chance Kemp could have went to the finals this year as well. Although I highly doubt the Sonics will be able to obtain Hakeem, considering he's kind of going Super Saiyan during that span, but Sean Kemp is definitely not the best player to get addicted to cocaine in the NBA. I'd probably say that was David Thompson, which, oh my goodness, what a wasted career. But Kemp, he's one of them. And while addiction is no joke, I would definitely recommend Kemp's cannabis dispensaries. I don't do drugs, but maybe if you do enough, you'll remember Sean Kemp as an 8-time champion with 5 scoring titles. And maybe you'll hang out with Delonte West when you get really bored too. I don't know. Shout out Sean C.
I'd rather be milked than killed.
Sean Kemp.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breakdown, baby.
In 11 years, Billy Cunningham nearly had a perfect basketball career. He was drafted to the Philadelphia 76ers in 1966, won a chip a year later in 1967, was first-team All-NBA for 3 straight years from 1969 to 71, moved to the ABA for 2 years where he won an MVP in 1973, before retiring in 1976 as a 76er once again. I'm not counting his ABA years, go figure, but he was pretty consistently great. The man got boards, the man got points, the man was a pretty good playmaker for a 3 at the time, and the man could jump. Take that, Wesley Snipes. White man can jump. In fact, Cunningham was nicknamed the Kangaroo Kid because of his aforementioned hops. Almost as good a nickname as the Anomaly, or the Pube. If Billy played longer, he would be higher. He retired early because his knee cartilage was non-existent towards the end of his career. Soon after his final season in the NBA, Billy became a championship-winning coach for the 76ers before sailing off to the Sea of Irrelevance. I really don't know what more to say. Every one of these segments has had jokes of some sort. I got nothing for this guy. Like, what am I supposed to say about Billy Cunningham?
Watch yourself, bro.
Again, you can tell the difference between them and me. I have loving parents.
You underestimated greatly. Most number 1s ever. How long did it really take me?
Vince Carter's career was kind of a disappointment. He was gifted enough to be on the level of a Kobe Bryant, or dare I say Michael Jordan, but for a multitude of reasons, just never quite reached that peak. When I say gifted, that's honestly an understatement. Let's start with this. Vince Carter is arguably the greatest dunker of all time. A lot of people will point to his showing in the 2000s dunk contest, rightfully so, but his in-game dunks were equally as lethal. For example, I point to this insane dunk he had in the 2000 Summer Olympics over 7'2" Frédéric Vess. This dunk is so impressive, it has its own Wikipedia article and has been coined the dunk of death. Additionally, Vince Carter was a really good 3-point shooter. He has multiple seasons shooting above 40% from deep on pretty high volume for the 2000s. His 2001 season in specific is really impressive, with him averaging 27.1 points per game on 41% from 3. Early on, he was a pretty good shot blocker relative to being a 6'6" guard, averaging 1.5 blocks a game his rookie season. And last but not least, he was decently efficient for an early 2000s volume score. Nothing crazy, but I'd be willing to bet he shot above league average true shooting percentage for the majority of his prime. So after all that, why wasn't he Michael Jordan again? And after doing the research, the genuine reason is that he was too kind. I think the game came so naturally to Vince that he didn't really develop that killer mindset or work ethic that he probably needed. I think having Mamba mentality is a little bit overblown. People will sit here and tell you that LeBron doesn't have a killer mentality. Like, come on. But with Vince, it actually is kind of true. Let's go back to 2001, Eastern Conference Semifinals Game 7, 76ers vs Toronto Raptors. This series, thus far, has been quite eventful. Allen Iverson has had multiple 50-point games, while Vince himself put up his own 50-piece early on in the series. The pressure is on. Vince Carter, the morning of, is in North Carolina. The game is taking place in Philadelphia. Instead of locking in on what is probably the most important game of his life, DC is attending a graduation ceremony. That's a very nice thing to do. It's Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals. The winner of this game is 8 games away from winning the NBA championship. Once Vince eventually flew back to Philadelphia, he had his worst game of the series. He shot 6 of 18 from the field, had 20 points, and with 2 seconds left, down 1 point, missed a fadeaway jumper to win the game. Imagine if Vince was just prepping like a normal NBA player, instead of going to a graduation ceremony. But that wasn't Vince. When you look back on his career, there were some great moments and there were some bad moments. His departure from Toronto was comically mishandled, with him essentially trolling the team until he got traded. His career post New Jersey is one of the great journeyman careers of all time. Some of these jerseys rival Nets KG and Celtics Shaq. That doesn't mean there weren't any highlights during that time period. Game 3 of the 2014 first round, Vince Carter hits a huge 3, leading the Mavs to a 2-1 lead over the eventual champion Spurs. You might see this Atlanta Hawks clip in Ultimate NBA Respect comeback moment compilations. Again, Vince didn't have a bad career, far from it, just a disappointing one for what could have been.
Lenny Wilkens was a longevity merchant. In 15 years, he was a 9-time All-Star, MVP runner-up, and an assist champ. Despite that, he never made an All-NBA team and never won a championship. So why is he over Vince Carter? And why is he over a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert? And the answer is his consistency. It's rare you find a player who's just as good, if not better, at 35 than they are at 25. But Wilkens was just that. He was a player coach for multiple seasons, top 3 in assists for a plethora of seasons, and also a pretty good scorer at the time, which wasn't common for point guards. Now, watching him actually play, it's not great. It's arguable he had a bag, but considering he played in the 60s and 70s, it just isn't compared to modern basketball, which again might make it a little baffling he's ranked this high. So let me put it this way, Lenny might have been a plumber, but he was an elite plumber, and his IQ definitely translated into multiple eras, which gives me faith that he still could have been a solid NBA player if he played 10 to 20 years in the future. He was a full-time coach from 1976 to 2005, holy shit! And in that time, he not only won a championship, but also obtained the 3rd most wins for any coach in the NBA ever. Lenny didn't have a ton of success as a player, at least in comparison to other all-timers, but he still deserves a lot of respect for what he was able to accomplish. Rest in peace to an NBA legend.
I ain't never meet King Von. For some reason, I f with King Von. Rest in peace to King Von. Punch a bitch in they face like King Von.
Okay, I'm not feeling great, but it is what it is. Anyways, one of this dude's nicknames is just listed as Willie on Basketball Reference. So throughout this segment, I'll be doing my due diligence to respect that. Willie was Willie good. For sure, man.
This guy stinks!
In 11 years, he was a 4-time champion and an 8-time All-Star with 7 All-NBA selections. From 1950 to 61, he was a demon shooter with respect to his era, leading the league in free throw percentage 7 times. He signed with the Brooklyn Dodgers and was one of the better scorers of his time period. Here's the thing about 50s basketball. Scrap that. The 50s in general. Racism. Bill had an impressive legacy, as did a couple other players in this era. However, it's hard to value his dominance when teams were limited to only a couple black players per roster. It won't factor into my rankings too much because I made it a point to respect every era, but when the era doesn't have respect for an entire ethnicity of people, it will be noted. Bill Sharman was still great. Statistically, he probably won't wow you, but he was very pivotal in the Celtics being the 1st seed in the East from 1957 to 61 when he ultimately retired. He was a decent playmaker and a great companion for Bill Russell. Wikipedia states that him and Bob Cousy were the greatest backcourt of all time at the time they played. It bears no repeating. It's not a great watch. I mean, look at it. As a coach, Bill was a demon. He brought the 1972 Lakers 33 straight wins, a 69-13 record, and a championship. He also won 10 rings as an executive for the Lakers, making his penultimate championship count 15 rings. So, that's pretty cool. Do I have anything more to say about Willie? No. Good player. Damn.
James catches, puts up a 3. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His 3-pointer.
Wait. Rewind that. This right here is the 2nd greatest rebound of all time. The greatest rebound right here. I text Shotty with the game method, I say F3. She responds with the question mark as she's supposed to which I respond, oh shit, my bad. I saw a snack and thought this was a vending machine. Now, I thought, right, that she would respond by saying like, damn, okay, sexy. But instead she says, not gonna lie, you kind of look like Dream, the Minecraft YouTuber. You look like f***ed up Justin Bieber. Don't text me again. Original shot completely off the mark. Oh my goodness, Valentine, right? But look at this. I say, what if I could be your dream? Craft something out of this and make you mine. Are you a believer in that? And that's how I bagged Ice Spice in 7th grade. Christopher Wesson Bosh, All-Star from 2006 to 2016. 2-time NBA champion and along with that, extremely unique championship celebrator. Bosh was a baller. Most remembered for his postseason success with the Heat, people tend to forget that there was a period where Bosh was arguably one of the best players in the league. Before Miami, Bosh was consistently a 20-point per game double-double in Toronto, leading them to the playoffs multiple times with what were pretty bad rosters. In Miami, he wasn't as dominant, but he transformed his game to become one of the first modern stretch bigs, making him absolutely pivotal when ushering in the 3-point era. If he wasn't affected with blood clots, Bosh had a good 4 to 5 years left where he likely still would have been a serviceable NBA player. I mean, again, he was an all-star for 11 straight seasons. That doesn't just happen by accident, but unfortunately, he had to retire early. I think Bosh is undervalued, all things considered. He probably could have been a successful first option on teams where he was built a competent roster, but he never really got the chance. So he made his own chance and joined the super team Miami Heat. But that big three, which only won a grand total of 2 and was mostly spearheaded by 1, probably wouldn't have any without Chris Bosh.
Is this real?
Oh, that's real. That's real. There are a total of 4 NBA players who, for a season, averaged 20 points and 20 rebounds a game. Jerry Lucas did it twice. The only other person to do it twice is Wilt Chamberlain. That's pretty good company. Did Jerry ever get a rebounding title? No, he played in the same era as Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. But who cares about that? Jerry was a demon. He won the Rookie of the Year in 1964, helped Oscar Robertson win his only MVP that same season, and later won a championship with the New York Knicks as a key contributor off the bench. 5 All-NBA selections and 7 All-Star selections in 11 years is pretty impressive, but in my opinion, Lucas's most impressive accomplishment is being 4th all-time in rebounds per game. Hey, here's a fun fact. In 2026, winners of the All-Star Game won a total of $125,000. In 1965, Jerry Lucas, the game's MVP, won a motorcycle. Do what you will with that. A lack of longevity, along with a lack of playoff success, burdens Lucas's career. But, can you really fault the guy? If I had to consistently play the Boston Celtics in the playoffs every year in an era where they won 11 out of 13 championships, I would retire early too. And at the end of the day, he got his ring. That's really what matters. Sam Jones is a 10-time NBA champion. He has the second most rings of all time. And while sure, a lot of that success can be attributed to the one and only Bill Russell, Sam deserves a lot of credit as well. His nickname was the Shooter, which is typically a good thing to be called unless you're in the news or something. He led Boston in scoring 5 seasons. He was a 5-time All-Star with 3 All-NBA selections. He played a massive part in breaking the color quota, which plagued the NBA for years. He was a super hard worker, very athletic, and almost a high school teacher. He actually thought about leaving the NBA to teach high school. Extremely clutch, multiple game winners in the playoffs, and definitively successful. Sam Jones 100% deserves to make this list. Why is he so low? The answer is just how stacked these Celtics teams were. Bob Cousy and Bill Russell were both arguably the best players in the world for years on end, and even outside of that, from 1957 to 1969, there were a total of 12 Hall of Famers that played for the Celtics. So while what Sam did is definitely impressive, it just kind of blends in with a lot of other players. K.C. Jones, for example, was an elite role player who won 8 rings with the Celtics. He's not on here. Tom Heinsohn was a 6-time All-Star in the Celtics during that time period, and he's not on this list either. Bailey Howell was a 20-point per game scorer for the Celtics, along with being an All-Star. You guessed it, he's not on here. So I'll give Sam credit, he was a phenomenal player, but because he played with so many other phenomenal players, it knocks him down a peg. If everybody is super, nobody is super.